Hi, I'm Sheila, and I am a compulsive eater.
Hi, Sheila.
Hello. I weigh and measure 3 meals a day off the gray sheet. I call them into my sponsor. I don't eat in between meals no matter what, and I eat my meals no matter what. And abstinence is the single most important thing I do every day. Oh, it seems like I have a really long story. So how it was, back in the day, I knew that I was a food addict at age 2.5. I didn't have words for it, but I knew what it was because I was always on the search. You know, I could just feel that food and I would be looking for it, and I knew what it smelled like and I knew what it tasted like. And so I was on the search constantly. It was really about the only fun thing that I had in my life at that time. I grew up in a household with a mother who was very depressed and a dad who was an alcoholic. So there was no known fact about whether or not there was going to be enough money to live in a house or pay for food or anything like that. So really, I loved food, and it played a very important part in my life. It was a way to join with my mother. We would cook together, and my grandmother, and we would cook together. And it was a task that had a completion to it, a beginning, a middle, and an end, with a beautiful thing at the very end. And so I really kind of honor that part in my story. I still do like to cook. There are some things I will never cook again, but other things I do enjoy cooking, including my gray sheet food. At age 10, my mother took me to the doctor down the street for diet pills, and it was thrilling. I loved being high off those pills, and I lost 10 pounds in a week, so I really felt good, but it ended. You know, no matter how many I took, I still wanted to eat because my body wanted it, my mouth wanted it, my soul wanted it. Again, it was the single most important thing in my life was being able to eat. And it was the only thing I could control. I thought it was control back then. So people would, when I would go visit my friends, their mothers would say, hide this, hide that. She was coming over. And I didn't realize that until later. And my best friend was a diabetic, so I learned to drink diet sodas really early on, at probably in the 3rd grade. And I could always prompt my friend to go and eat because she needed to keep her blood sugar up. And so I made sure that she kept her blood sugar up. I also had some other skill sets. So, I didn't just hate myself, but I hated my thighs, and I hated my face, and I hated my hair. And as long as I could kind of ignore that, I was a relatively happy person if I never looked in the mirror. I ended up having a boyfriend in high school, and I had to get him drunk to get him to be my boyfriend, but he was a hot thing, and I loved it. And he would take me out to eat at one of my favorite restaurants, and we would just completely pig out. And I got fatter, but when you're young, you can really kind of hold things together. And I tried Weight Watchers during that time. My whole family was motivated to try to keep me thin, and it was a hot topic of conversation in the family. And because I could not comply, I knew that something was wrong with me, but I also knew that I needed to hide. And so I hid everything I ate for the most part. And I would walk by something and eat something thinking nobody would notice it. And so anyway, I graduated. I met my current husband and my only husband in college, and I went on my first really big diet for him. He was into fitness and exercise, and so I thought, well, maybe this will help me be strong. So I ran a mile a day and I ate 3 meals a day, actually. But unfortunately, I was eating things that we don't eat on GreySheet, and I pretty much white-knuckled it, and I lost 50 pounds. And I drive by every time I go to the grocery store. I drive by the place where I broke my abstinence, although I didn't know what to call it back then. And every time I drive by that reminds me I am always just one bite away. Richard and I married. I had 3 kids. I tried to manage my food, but by the time I had my 3rd child, I weighed 250 pounds, and my knees hurt. My cholesterol was 350, and I was pretty much a physical mess. And I went on another diet then, and I found diets to be somewhat thrilling because I was doing something for myself, that heartbeat of always do something important for yourself. And I could get high off of not eating, and it would last for a while. But then, of course, because I am a compulsive eater, I knew I was going to eat again. It was just a matter of when. And so then, of course, I would gain all that weight back. So I was like an accordion. I'd get fat, and then I'd get a little thinner, but not real thin, but just a little thinner, and then I'd get fat again. And so by the time the accordion was there, I was 250 pounds, and I was there, and maybe I lost 10 pounds or something like that. But when I found GreySheet, I had already been in another 12-step program, an Al-Anon program, and one of the messages that I had in that was, how bad does it have to get before I ask for help? And I knew about GreySheet. I'd been to Overeaters Anonymous, where they talked smack about GreySheet, and it had a food plan, and nobody ever wanted to do the food plan, and I was going to call and find out what the food plan was before I would start it. But on that day, it was August the 7th of 2006, I didn't care. I was done. I was complete. I was done. And so I went to my first GreySheet meeting. I didn't eat anything for breakfast. I went in there, and there were 3 or 4 thin women in there. They were happy. They were happy to see me. And they talked about their abstinence with such joy. They talked about their food with such joy. There was no white knuckling it, no more stuff about, I'll just hold on long enough to get thin. It was all about the food. It was not about the thinness. When I could hardly walk when I went into GreySheet, and my cholesterol was probably off the chart, and I was taking blood pressure medicine and cholesterol medicine and having to wear special shoes, and I would look at a curb and not really sure whether I could step down on that curb without hurting my knee. So I cried my first entire GreySheet meeting, and these women were so kind. It was not just what they said, but their body language as well. It was like really a big hug and welcome. We can help you with this. We have a solution. Right there, right after the meeting, I got a temporary sponsor, and she went over the GreySheet for me. And it was all I could do not to cry. And I just gave her all of my food. I gave her all of myself. I completely surrendered to the GreySheet and to whatever she had to say on how I was going to save my life. And as we went over the GreySheet, I realized, I was all prepared for a diet. I was all butched up, ready to white knuckle it and do one more effing diet. One more diet. And as she began to talk about the GreySheet, I began to relax. I thought, oh my God, these are foods I love anyway. Oh, I can eat that. Oh my gosh, you're kidding me. I can eat that. there was so much of that. So by the time I walked out of that with my gray sheet, with my sponsor, with the 12-step book, I thought, my gosh, I can do this. It is not my program anymore. I don't have to be the one to take care of it, to worry about what am I going to talk about with my food, how am I going to butch myself up to do one more day of dieting. I had a whole group of people to be able to call to talk about my food, the fact that I felt like I was going to die if I couldn't eat, and get anxious and sweaty palms if there was no food around. I was just so entirely grateful, and for really the first time in my life, I thought I could probably do this. And it's been almost 10 years, and it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. The people in this program are wonderful. There's somebody's hand to hold at every step of the way. So how it is for me today, I've lost probably 100 pounds, and I think I look okay. I don't really know what I look like, and I never really have. I mean, how much is too thin, what's just right, I just really don't know. So I look to the people in my GreySheet group to help me with what I look like. I'm happy I can move. I weigh and measure 3 meals a day off the GreySheet. 3 meals a day, and they are wonderful, delicious, nourishing, and delicious and delicious and delicious meals. And I have a life today. I do not think about food much anymore. When I call my meals in, I know exactly what I'm going to eat. I don't really ever get hungry. I get empty sometimes, but I'm not hungry. And I don't fantasize about food. I don't romance it anymore. It is really not the most important thing I do every day. Calling my meals in is, and having a life in between my meals. I'm still married. I have 3 grown boys, and I travel, and I weigh and measure. I've been camping. It's just a wonderful life. And I will say, too, that the things that made a difference for me to find GreySheet, number 1, I had to be beat. I had to be finished. I had to be desperate. I had to be sad. I had to be afraid. I had to just be completely done. And I would have crawled over glass to have an opportunity to know what to do with my food. The second thing was believed in the group of people that helped me stay abstinent, and my higher power is within that. And the third thing was I made a decision. I made a decision. This was something that I wanted. Without exception, I wanted to be free. I wanted to be whole. I wanted to have self-esteem. I wanted it. And every day I make that decision. And it's the very best thing that I've ever done in my life. This is a wonderful group of people and a wonderful program. And without it, I would be on TV on my 600-pound life, having to take care of me and go get my food. And while my husband loved me fat or thin, I'm not sure about the 600 pounds. But thank goodness I don't have to really think about that. The other thing I wanted to say, too, is one of the things that helped me make this decision is I did go and look at gastric bypass. And with a gastric bypass, there were some things that I did not want in my life, which was eating all the time because you can't hold anything. And so I keep that and I touch it several times a year and know that that's not for me, that GreySheet is. I think that's all I have for today. So, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.